Hi, I'm Luminaria Star, and this is a Metaphysician's Journal. Hi. The definition of polymath is a person who excels at many things. And today's entry in a Metaphysician's Journal is one of homage to Rudolf Steiner, who was a living definition of the term polymath, and was also one of the most remarkable persons in recorded history. Records disagree as to whether he was born on the 25th or 27th of February, but everybody agrees that it was in 1861. So I've decided to compromise and air this on the 26th, because the middle way is usually a good idea, and the 26th is exactly between the 25th and the 27th. His place of birth is in Donji Kraljevec, in what is now Croatia. I probably totally mispronounced that, but that will have to do for now. When he was 9 years old, Steiner believed he saw the spirit of an aunt who had died in a far-off town. And at the time of that vision, neither he nor his family knew that she had died. That experience opened doors for him that would never close again. During a significant portion of his formative years, he was homeschooled and had plenty of time to contemplate non-traditional subjects that were not normally taught to boys of his age at any academic institution. And he began to experiment with his budding clairvoyance at that time, and progressed well beyond his age level in academic subjects. He later went to school in Vienna on a scholarship for gifted students, where he excelled in both the sciences and the arts, but then left without attaining a degree. In spite of this, he was, at a very young age, asked to edit a prestigious journal, and wound up becoming an editor at the Goethe Archives in Weimar. He wrote introductions and commentaries for scholarly works of Goethe, Schopenhauer, and Jean-Paul, wrote 2 books and numerous articles, all before the age of 30. And at 21, he met a country herbalist who opened his eyes to the spiritual realm present in nature. He grew to believe in the intelligence present in all aspects of nature, including the plant kingdom. By age 30, he had received a doctorate degree, published numerous scholarly works, and had devised his theory of anthroposophy, a system of thought which he believed would enable humans to become spiritually free when properly applied. He became acquainted with Nietzsche's sister, and met the famous writer who unfortunately was already far progressed along into his final illness. This meeting made a very strong impression on his sensitive and compassionate nature. He accepted the editorship of a prestigious magazine in Berlin, but then experienced a significant setback in his career when he backed Emile Zola in the terrible travesty of justice that was the Dreyfus Affair. He lost many subscribers and left the magazine. Shortly afterward, Steiner published an article discussing his esoteric interpretation of Goethe's fairy tale, The Green Snake and the Beautiful Lily, and this resulted in an invitation to speak at a theosophy meeting. He became a regular guest speaker, though he never did join the organization. Nevertheless, he was appointed as a society leader for the chapters in Austria and Germany. And that same year, 1899, when he first became involved with the Theosophical Society, he entered in what was to be an unsuccessful marriage with a woman named Anna Oyneke, a youngish widow in whose home he had found lodging for a time. She was the mother of 5 children, which must have placed a heavy burden on both her and as an individual and upon the relationship. And the marriage didn't last, and she died a few years later in 1911. In 1914, Steiner remarried someone he met through the society, a lady named Marie von Sivers, and he worked on reforming and westernizing theosophy, replacing much of Madame Blavatsky's theory with his own interpretation of Western philosophical tradition. When he would not accept Annie Besant's endorsement of Krishnamurti as the incarnation of the Maitreya, or world teacher, he split with the society and formed his own group, the Anthroposophical Society. His organization had new and exciting features, such as performances of plays and the establishment of a cultural center. World War II hardly seemed to slow the progress of this new movement, but when the war ended, things sprang ahead with remarkable increased speed and vigor. Steiner proposed political and economic reforms that would have improved the recovery of post-war Germany had they been implemented. He opposed the formation of ethnicity-based countries instituted by Woodrow Wilson and vigorously opposed the development of right-wing groups that were gaining significant political traction in the disastrous post-war conditions that Germany was suffering through. In response, Hitler attacked Steiner, accused him of being a Jew and a tool of the Jewish elite, and other extremists took up the chorus, calling for a war against Steiner. He narrowly escaped a physical attack at one of his meetings, and his lecture tours were then temporarily cancelled. He left Berlin after the beer hall putsch, fearing that he would be denied re-entry and access to his home and belongings if Hitler succeeded in seizing control of the government. He did eventually resume his lecture circuit and did everything he could to spread his ideas, pushing himself relentlessly in spite of his declining health. He died exhausted in the early spring of 1925. Many find his works to be impenetrable with a very dry style, and yet he was prolific and eclectic, with interests spanning numerous disciplines. He constantly made reference to the interconnectedness of all things, and his somewhat obscure ways of reasoning these claims out have only started to become clear in recent years with the advances and developments in such fields as biochemistry and quantum physics. He strove to establish a link between the hard sciences and mysticism, calling his new approach spiritual science, and promoting his belief in spirit as something actual and real. He started from the premise that it is possible for human beings to penetrate behind what is perceivable by the senses, and to prove this reality in empirical ways. He sought the means to create an ideal reality in such a way that these values could be experienced and integrated into human life. He believed strongly in reincarnation and developed techniques that he believed granted him access to information, confirming his theories about karma and natural phenomena. He postulated that one could transcend karma by actively taking hold of one's own nature and destiny, and by so doing become self-actualized in one's present lifetime. He accomplished a great many things in his time. He founded several significant philosophical movements, founded the Waldorf School, which would become an internationally recognized network of over 1,000 schools practicing a progressive form of education. He invented the biodynamic style of agriculture, which contributed heavily to organic farming methods and permaculture theory used in modern times. His work in medicine led to the development of a broad range of complementary medications and supportive artistic and biographical therapies. The company Weleda produces products based on his theories and formulae and are distributed globally to this day. Homes for children and adults with developmental disabilities based on his work are highly successful and provide effective solutions for these individuals today. His paintings and drawings have influenced numerous prominent modern artists. His two Goetheanum buildings are generally accepted to be masterpieces of modern architecture, and his system of ethical banking might have saved us all from the economic upheavals of our times. His writings, published in about 40 volumes, include books, essays, plays, mantric verse, and an autobiography. His collected lectures, making up approximately 300 more volumes, discuss an extremely wide range of themes. Steiner's drawings, chiefly illustrations done on blackboards during his lectures, are collected in a separate series of 28 volumes. Many publications have covered his architectural legacy and sculptural works as well. Perhaps Steiner's most important yet least recognized contributions were his ideas on social reform. He actively lectured and circulated petitions expressing his basic social ideas, and they were supported by many cultural figures of the day, including Hermann Hesse. In Steiner's chief book on social reform, Toward Social Renewal, he suggested that the cultural, political, and economic spheres of society need to work together as consciously cooperating yet independent entities, each with a particular task. Political institutions should establish political equality and protect human rights. Cultural institutions should nurture the free and unhindered development of science, art, education, and spirituality. And economic institutions should enable producers, distributors, and consumers to cooperate to provide efficiently for society's needs. He saw such a division of responsibility, which he called the threefold social order, as a vital task which would consciously take up the historical trend toward the mutual independence of these three realms. Steiner saw theocracy, corporate influence on government, and state socialism or government interference with science, education, and spirituality as attempts by elitist institutions to dominate or manipulate human culture in a way contrary to humanity's best interests. All in all, this man strove to improve conditions for all living beings, and to touch the life of all humans in a positive way. He expressed this in a little verse that he wrote. Quote, "The healthy social life is found when in the mirror of each human soul the whole community is shaped, and when in the community lives the strength of each human soul." Unquote. And with that, I conclude this edition of a Metaphysician's Journal. Blessed be.